Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Rayleigh Criterion and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Neil is back.
Neil is
yeah,
back.
I'm back. Right. I'm back and better than ever. Let's get it on.
I'm glad you're so enthused. It's not like we've got a particularly exciting show lined up. We're going to be covering Sabine Hosselenfelder, which isn't necessarily our first choice, but all of the other choices were either previously covered, previously discussed at length, nauseatingly boring, or a TikTok video that was quite intriguing to cover but had a load of music over the top of it though. So what we're left with is Sabine. So that's, I don't know if I should laugh or cry really. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy the next 20 minutes or just find it tediously boring because it's kind of ancillary to the subjects we normally cover. So Sabine's covering why people hate scientists, which obviously it's a subject that we do cover because the globe lie, previously and extensively covered over the last 10 years, utilise the idea of an empirical method, that's science, to dupe you into the idea of having proof for things like heliocentrism. That's a globe Earth moving around a sun. So, with that in mind, we have had to go through the motions of explaining to people what science really is, so they can understand how what they've been told science is, with things like the globe, weren't actually science, weren't actually empirical, weren't actually proving anything, and therefore were pseudoscience. It's not been without its perils trying to disseminate this information to our own on the Flat Earth side, but we won't dwell on that. What we will do is ask the housekeeping question, as we seem to be in a bit of a globe-centric mind set, covering Sabine, who is a high priest of heliocentrism. So with that in mind, any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
You mean Cavendish wasn't on a scientific experiment?
Was that an upward inflection to imply that there's a question mark about the non-experiment known as Cavendish?
Yeah, because I keep hearing his name all the time in the debates, but I don't see any experiment.
It isn't. So step one isn't adhered to in the Cavendish quote-unquote experiment, which it isn't. Step one is observe the natural phenomena you are studying. That is to say, observe something occurring in nature and ask yourself why that happened. Well, in the case of Cavendish, the claimed effect, number one, as a explanation or description, violates the actual processes we observe in nature, and secondly, is conjured within the apparatus itself. So there is no naturally occurring phenomena. There's a suggestion that all things move towards the centre of Earth, which gas violates. So gas behaviour defies the idea of Newtonian gravity, which is claimed to be validated by this quasi-experiment, which does not have a natural phenomena, and the claim to be description, that's gravity, is violated by gas behaviour. Any single
Yeah, but only gas?
Well, I mean, there's other things that go up.
Name one.
There's more to it than that. It depends on the medium that the item's in. You can get things to rise up through mercury, like lead. You know, if they're pushed down in them, they will displace upwards, but it's not necessarily par for any course to overcome a 109-year out-of-date rhetoric. Oh,
am I living in Mercury, Nathan? Why would you bring up Mercury? I don't live in Mercury. I live in air.
Yeah, that's why I used air as the example. When you said, is it just air? Well, I'm like, no, other things can displace upwards. And then I gave an example. Anything else, Neil?
Yeah, going to
Well,
require a
they'll say
horizontal
that
plane so
all you
that
have
up
is
and
gas,
down.
and that doesn't validate it.
Oh, you got rumpus a little bit by George.
Yeah, Georgie.
Sorry, Neil. I was just saying they're going to need a horizontal plane of reference to describe that up and down. Oh dear.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah. And just like Nathan was trying to say, there is no cause. They're talking about some effect that they cannot show or give any evidence or any experiment or any cause. So that
I literally
that's
cannot understand a single word you're saying.
cause, they cannot show any cause. They cannot show any
Cause.
experiment.
Gotcha. Cause.
That's what you're saying.
It's very difficult to understand you on your mic, and I'm sure you appreciate that. You're not at home, I can tell. Anyway, right, you can't show a cause. Well, the cause would be for a naturally occurring phenomena. So in the case of the Cavendish experiment, the cause that they assert for Newtonian gravity is based on an effect that isn't observed in nature. So if you want to say, well, what caused that effect, if you're going to describe it as one, well, a man making it. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Then they're going to do some shout-outs.
Negative. Those are not. Those are pseudosciences. They don't have a hypothesis. Not a viable one.
Shout out to Jardo, who's just gifted a load of memberships. Thank you very much, Jardo. And welcome. If you've just joined, there's a whole bunch of members-only videos you can check out. And after the show finishes, I upload the Uncut After Show, which you can check out in a few hours' time. So welcome, all of you. And thank you for gifting those memberships. I'm going to do a quick shout-out to Divergent Droids Give, Send, Go. Is it a Give, Send, Go? Yeah, it is. Give, Send, Go campaign. So he's had some financial worries and obviously has reached out. It's not great timing because we've just done another campaign for QE, literally directly before this one. So it's not great timing, but that's how things go sometimes when people need help and it is in need. We will obviously do our best to endeavour to help those people. And in this case, it's one of our own moderators who, you know, is kind of an unspoken hero. He's an absolutely exceptional moderator. So when he reached out and said, can you help me? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So we already shouted the campaign out once on the Bullbuster show, which was on Saturday. And I'm going to do some shout-outs to the people who've supported the campaign since. And indeed invite the people who are watching the show now to support the campaign. So there is a link going by to Divergent Droids Give Sango campaign. And as I say, I'm going to shout out all the people who've supported it till now. So shout out to Anonymous Giver, who I actually know who it is, but yeah, thank you very much for supporting the campaign. Really appreciate the support. Me, thank you to me. And Jerry Mercial, thank you very much for supporting the campaign. Chow Young Cat, also big shout out to you. Thank you very much indeed. Riffraff, thanks to you too. Daniel Samaniego, really appreciate the support. G Platypus, who got a lot of props as he's a Globe Earther and has supported the campaign. Thank you very much to you again. Here we go again. Thank you very much for supporting the campaign. Another anonymous contributor who left no comment, just gave a whole bunch of cash. So thank you for the $100, whoever you are, anonymous giver. Really appreciate the support. Never a straight answer. Also, really appreciate the support. Thank you very much indeed to you, my friend. And Mike808, again, big spender, dropped $100. A lot of you have dropped a lot of money on Divergent Droids, which doesn't surprise me because he's loved by all. So please support the campaign. There is a link, as I say, going by in the live stream chat right now. Yeah, hopefully, if you do, we'll give you a shout out. If indeed you couldn't necessarily afford to support the campaign, as you can see me waving my mouse over this little button that says share, stick a share on it. 3 people have done so already. It does make a difference to the success of the campaign. So share if you can't necessarily support it financially. Or if indeed you just wanted to leave some nice words for Divergent Droid, there's a little button that says pray. And you can just leave some nice words and it will leave them under the updates and prayer requests and all the rest of it. So you can leave some nice words for people to read on the campaign, and obviously they'll get through to Divergent Droid as well. So another big thank you to all of you who've supported that campaign thus far. There is a link going by in the live stream chat. Okay, do we want to carry on with a bit of housekeeping, or should we cover Sabine? Oh, don't all go at once. Keen, aren't you? Keen, I can tell.
I was keeping the housekeeping away from Sabine, but yeah.
Okay. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
The answer was no. It still remains the same.
They have plenty of natural phenomena in the study.
Yeah, there is. There's loads
Manipulating and varying said phenomena might be a problem.
I mean, it's always a problem. I mean, that's the hardest endeavor of any scientific endeavor, which is to say that figuring out what will cause the effect you're studying. So I actually had this as a 5-hour hour with the tech guy who supports this show by keeping the computer up to date and working with parts only. That is to say, he doesn't charge me a dime for all the work he puts in. Shout out to you, Craig. He actually joined the show on Friday, hence me being a bit more comfortable shouting him out a bit more. But he was arguing with me for hours and hours and hours because I was explaining science to him, and the example was the stars. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the phenomena. If you want to say stars appearing and disappearing is the phenomena, then you're going to want to try and establish what causes that. And that is to say you have to pick an independent variable, suppose it as the cause. It's got to be real. It's got to be capable of being varied. And then you vary it and see if you induce the phenomena that you're studying. Now, because it's so grandiose, that is to say the lights that appear in the sky at night, it was my tech guy, Craig's opinion, that couldn't be slotted into the scientific method because it was too big an endeavour. It's like, no different to anything else that you don't know the cause of at the point you don't know the cause of it. There's a whole myriad of things that you could start varying to see if you can induce the effect. And if you don't know, you don't know. So that is the genius within the methodology to suppose the cause correctly. Now, when I've put that to Quantum Eraser in the past, it's like, yeah, but when you're following the process, there's going to be a whole bunch of research that leads you to an idea of what you think, a good idea of what you think would be the cause before you start varying and manipulating things in experimentation. So because he's presumably worked in these fields, I don't know, but his notion is that's Quantum Eraser's notion. John's notion was to say that no, if you're going to be following this process, you're going to have a pretty good idea by the time you get to the experiment stage. Nevertheless, I would still define that as the genius part of the method, when you actually guess right what's going to cause the effect you're studying. You know, it might be a massive endeavor, it might be immediately guess correct, but in either event, that's where we advance humanity. Throughout the ages, that is what we have done to advance humanity in both our understanding and in our technological endeavors. Those have improved through scientific endeavors. One follows the other. You know, it's all well and good talking about what causes this and that and the other in quantum mechanics, but it's only when you see the net result in technological terms that you see the fruits of the labour of science. Well, that's not to say that the technology itself is science. It isn't. But, yeah. Anyway, the whole point in waffling our way through what science is and what it isn't and how you can vary and manipulate that which you assume causes effects you're studying, that's hypotheses construction, and the actualisation of that process being experimentation itself, is because there's been a lot of hijacking over the last 200-300 years of this process to infer that when pseudoscience priests say, this is why the stars do what they do, you have to accept it because they're under a banner of science, when they've not followed that process as described. They don't know what caused it. They're just giving you a just-so story. And they call themselves theoretical physicists and various other titles, astrophysicists, and they don't know. They've looked at what they've seen, and then they've decided to come up with a story, some of it based on mathematical extrapolation, most of it from flat Earth measurements. So that is the reason why we are covering Sabine talking about why people hate scientists. I don't really understand where she's going with that title, but we'll hopefully find out shortly. Good enough segue? We happy to move on?
Indeed, I just wanted to say something. Regardless if they can or not establish a cause as to why this phenomenon is happening in the sky, what it matters is in terms of geometry, they're going to need a surface level to describe this phenomena happening in the sky. So I don't see how this is going to help them at all. We're talking about elevation angles to the sky.
Yeah, the origins of the globe model are based in the measurements of angles to the stars. So their extrapolations and then reifications after the fact aren't really going to help them regardless of what they come up with in this video. So yeah, I completely agree, George. Okay, so you know the routine if you're a regular. Let Sabine know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I'm going to put a link to her video in the live stream chat, which I'll bring up on screen so you can see what we are doing. The idea being that if Sabine was ever to respond to some of the critiques we offer here, she'd put a link to our video, so we could share in the YouTube algorithmic love that we are offering her when I send my audience to her to leave comments and likes and all those good things that people do when they go to a YouTube video, boosting it in the algorithm, as I'm damn sure this video will need. Nevertheless, it's called Why Do People Hate Scientists? If you click on the link, let Sabine know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment with no swearing, so it doesn't hit the algorithm or whatever it is to get immediately removed or trigger her to want to immediately remove it. But just politely let her know that we've responded to her video. And hopefully, like I say, she'd do the same for us if she was to respond to us. So, as I say, click that link, and I do mean that sincerely. If you're watching live now, I don't know how many people there are watching currently. Let's have a look. Am I going to be slick enough to do this while I'm doing the call to action? Well, it drags out the call to action a bit, which is no bad thing. Viewer activity, analytics, there we go. Oh, it just gives me 2 dashes. I don't know how many people are watching. Anyway, please let her know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. That's hopefully bought enough time for some of you to have actually toddled along to do that.
Currently 75 people watching.
How many?
75.
75 of you out there too.
79.
At least 1 or 2
just
of you will hopefully go and let her know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Also, as I'm doing it, please share the show, this show. Click that share button if you've not done so already. Right, any comment on this before we move on, actually covering it?
If Sabine brings up the name Cavendish, I will be impressed.
Well, we'll see. She's covering why people don't like her.
Just what's going on. Scientists are kind of annoying, all right, but are they any worse than other people?
I don't really understand why this stereotype that scientists would be annoying. You know, people who are following the scientific method and varying and manipulating causes to see if they influence that which is being researched, I wouldn't really understand why that could ever be defined as annoying. I mean, people be people and all that stuff, and some people are scientists, obviously. So there are some annoying people who are scientists, but I don't really understand this stereotype. It seems very non sequitur.
What gave me a pause were the results of this recent poll in the United States, according to which 7% of Americans think that scientists are not likable. 7%.
I mean, they're guilty of being assessed on a stereotyping fallacy. So, you know, the people who went through this process of answering the questions to give you this 7% statistic have answered within a stereotype fallacy. Do you suggest that farmers are all grumpy? I mean, there's some really cheery farmers and there's some really depressed farmers. This doesn't really seem like a very cogent question. But there we go, 7%. So we've got stats, so math is reality, and so therefore 7% of people fell for a stereotyping fallacy. How interesting.
Percent think that scientists overall are not likable? That seems a lot to me. Then again, for all I know, Americans think that...
I mean, it's all well and good, this computer working off the back of the discoveries in quantum mechanics that scientists have performed when doing experimentation. But having a nice computer, I mean, were they nice people? I mean, I really spend a lot of time thinking about that when I fire up Windows.
7% of people in general are not likable. One shouldn't
Yeah, that's kind of what I said.
extrapolate from a place where they eat deep-fried butter on sticks to the rest of the world, but we certainly see the same thing in other countries. In the UK...
What is she babbling about? I mean, she's giving out a non sequitur and then validating her own non sequitur with other non sequiturs that might come up in rebuttal. And now we're into following through with the stereotype fallacy by giving examples from within it. Oh, God, I really do not like covering Sabine.
A prominent case is Hilary Cass, a British physician who agreed to lead a review of the scientific evidence for medical treatments of transgender children. The report concludes...
Is that what this is really about? This is about her and her bias in the transgender agenda debate. That's all this really is. Oh my God.
concluded, as several other reports before, that the evidence for the beneficiality of the treatment is generally weak. That's the same conclusion I came to in my video on the topic 2 years ago, and going by the verbal abuse that I had to endure, I was not surprised to read that Cass had to ask for police protection at some point.
Do we want to cover this? I mean, not only is it not related to flat Earth, it's not related to science in any way, shape, or form. There's no natural phenomena being laid down. There's no cause and effect reasoning in a hypothesis. There's no experimentation. There's no theory. There's no nothing.
Yeah, it's a big nothing burger.
This is what passes for science in the medical community.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh, so it's an example of where I say people have been duped into believing that cause and effect reasoning and the scientific method's been adhered to when people offer them stats and opinions. Well, I kind of suppose it makes my point. It's just not related to us directly, is it?
Not entirely.
Not at all. Other than us exposing a particular pseudoscientist, which we've done many times before. Yeah, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we're 20 minutes into a live show, and I've got to be honest. I'm clicking away. We'll just chat amongst ourselves. I mean, there's been a weekend between the last FED and now, so hopefully we've got a lot to talk about, because I have got no backup. The only thing I've got is a TikTok video with a load of music
talk about.
You got something to talk about, have you, Neil?
Yes.
And we got gossip. We got a really, really low-hanging fruit fail-safe in the form of gossip about Jaren and Karen B. So, I mean, that's the low-hanging fruit that we might end up covering if worse comes to the worst. Go ahead, Neil. What have you got to talk about? Best not be that low-hanging fruit that I've got in reserve.
Well, I was just going to ask. I wasn't able to hear any of that because I had to go somewhere, but I would love to hear what happened with the witch and the devil.
Oh, no need. No need.
Nathan, what do you want me to call them? They display it.
Jaren and Karen.
They don't display characteristics of two human beings called Jaren and Karen.
They are. So let's not debate this. Anyway, what was it you wanted to talk about that isn't this?
Well, I wanted to talk more about what happened on Saturday in that video, because it seems that there's a lot of people jumping to the defense of what's can't be defended. I mean, the words were said, the question was asked, and there was a response. 20, I think, 24. What was the count?
Yes, there's going to be a lot of pain, Neil, because you've got to remember that there's people who are in a fold. Do you know what I mean by in a fold? And those people are going to be in a bit of cognitive dissonance right now, aren't they? They're going to be going, I don't like this. This makes me uncomfortable, so I'll attack the messenger. As the person that's being pointed out to decry the movement you think you're part of, therefore is unambiguous in terms of what that means. Us pointing it out, it could defend what Dave has done when he's decried flat Earth. Yeah, it can be a big ball. It can be a big ball, can it, Dave? Flat Earth, Dave. Okay, well, defend that all you like. You know, but accept that, okay, by defending it, you're a true earther then. You're not a flat earther. Okay, well, that's fine. You've been sold one thing and you're actually another. Well, you can either accept that or tell me I'm wrong, tell Neil he's wrong, defend the words of someone else that are explicit. But it is what it is now. The people who are now aware that they weren't really... I mean, maybe they didn't notice that there wasn't much being talked about when it came to flat Earth. Maybe they were acutely aware and were questioning it. I don't know, either way. But now you know the real score, don't you? And you can moan at the messenger all you like and defend the actions of somebody who's decrying his own movement as much as you like. But it is what it is, Neil. You're right.
Nathan, do you remember there was a time when we used to kid around and claim that he was the boss because people said that Dave Weiss gives us our script? There was a time when you protected his finances. He would send ballers here and they would have to prove the ball to get Bitcoin. I'm trying to appeal to these people that there was a time. And that time is over. And it's not because of what we say here.
I reckon Nathan could challenge Dave Weiss to get the free Bitcoin and actually convince, and he would be able to convince him that he lived on a globe.
Refracted said he could do it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be original. Refracted's already done that. Or suggested it. But why would I want to do that? I don't want to go out of my... That's what he's doing. That's what I'm moaning about.
Yeah, but I don't think you can now anyway, Nathan, because once you understand that it's measured flat, I don't care what you try. There's no way you can prove it's a sphere.
Well, the sphere proof comes from those measurements.
Correct.
The inference that it could possibly be a sphere started with measurements of a Earth that's flat. So the idea that it could be a bigger sphere, well, you only think it's a smaller sphere at radius 3959 because we measured it flat and then extrapolated out those measurements into a model to better explain epicycles. Okay. So we've got better explanation for epicycles. We now call them retrograde motion. Okay, that's what we got. I mean, it's good and all, but I mean, heliocentric model's very nice. It's good at predicting stuff. It's pretty good. It's not bad. Does that mean we're on a ball? No. But 300 years of being told that we are definitely on that ball that was invented by a man who took measurements of an Earth that's flat and the angles to stars and how they moved and extrapolated out a globe so we could better predict where those lights would be. Well, you can infer that we're on a sphere from that, and then when it's proven wrong because of the measurements being taken from a flat Earth, you could say, well, it could be a bigger ball. Okay, you can do that, but it just means you've divorced yourself from being a flat earther anymore. That's all it really means. And to all the yous out there that are going, well, I'll defend Dave Weiss's position when he relinquishes himself of being a flat earther because he quite literally says it could be a ball, and he's not a flat earther, he's a true earther. Those two statements aren't subtle. It's explicit what's going on. Yeah? Now, it might have taken him and what he's been hiding from his audience all these years to be dragged out of him by the same question asked 20 times by Jesse, but he got there in the end, and now you all know. So now you all know. You deal with it as you want to deal with it. I know what I've done with this information is quite profound, because up until this point, literally till Saturday, even after we first covered it, it didn't make a great deal of difference. It's a bit of a shame that I can't now go, oh, Dave, do a better job as a flat earther. He ain't. But there's a bit more of a profound implication, which is to say we have been divorcing ourselves from the quote-unquote flat earth community because of Feast of Nonsense. And we're like, oh, it's the fault of the, the invisible hidden hand or powers that should not be. Whatever the reason we've got Feast of Nonsense out there, whatever farcical justifications we can come up with aside, the Feast of Nonsense is out there, and we've said it's in the flat earth community, therefore we're something separate. But in reality, it's the other way around. The community that has got people's interest, that's flat earth, regardless of if their searches are put towards Professor Dave and Dave McKeegan and all the rest of them, the public's interest is in flat earth as a subject. So when the people who we've divorced ourselves from because we assumed they were flat earth by majority, they're not. They've gathered up a whole bunch of people, certainly more than us, under their wing, under the pretenses of being people who talk about flat earth, but they don't talk about flat earth. So they're not flat earthers, and when asked explicitly 20 times, decry that they are flat earthers and postulate that it could be a very big ball. So, these people are going literally under the name of flat earth. I mean, it's outrageous at this point, but what it does mean is that I can say, no, I am a flat earther. I'm a real flat earther. Not a true earther, not a whatever earther. I'm a flat earther. And there's people out there who just like to hijack the interest in this subject to peddle whatever garbage they like to peddle. Globe debunkings are one of them. Because that's not flat earth, it's globe debunking. Well, we're not that, and we no longer need to divorce ourselves from flat earth as a community. We need to build the actual flat earth, the real, like people call themselves on Twitter, the real whatever person. Well, we need to be the real flat earth. Because that's what we are. That's what we represent now. We're left with the responsibility. It's a bit sudden and a bit of a shock. You're like, okay, so the community we thought we were divorcing ourselves from are now waking up to the fact that they're not actually in that community. They've been told they're in that community. The heading above the door is flat earth, but it isn't. You know, flat Earth's above this door, and it really is flat Earth in the classroom.
Well, the problem is we've created enemies on both sides.
But what both
Now-
sides? There's only two. There's our side that's flat Earth that we were previously detaching ourselves from, and there's people who aren't flat Earthers. That's it. So when you say, well, we
Yeah.
pissed off the people who aren't flat Earthers, like Dave Weiss, could be a big ball Dave. Oh, well, he's not
No.
on my side, is he? So who cares?
Right. So they're one enemy, but there's also an inner enemy that are supposedly flat earthers and are crying out that it's not measured flat. The reference is not the Earth. So they're a problem too.
No, these people are all just our enemy when it comes to people who oppose us with no justification when we've overcome their rebuttals. In the case of the most form of the latter that you just mentioned, it's been 22 times that we've covered that subject. And we just get rumpus chanted through with the reassertion of a claim that we can't measure Earth flat over and over again through anything that we put to them without any acknowledgement of it. It's pathetic. Well, those people are no different. At least we know now. Why have Jaron and Bob and Dave and all these people opposed us all these years when we're trying to help them and advance the arguments for flat Earth? Well, it's because they were never flat Earthers and they were never on our side. That's why they opposed us. They do oppose us. Yeah? He's not... This is a fact. You know, all the people that were under some false prophet of flat Earth, that's Dave Weiss, have suddenly realised he's not punting flat Earth. Quite the opposite. So you've either got to go, oh, I'll follow you anyway into your big globe Earth that you think it could be. Well, okay. You do that if that's what you want to do. But now you know what you're doing. You know, if you still want to peddle his fraud by calling him Flat Earth Dave and such like, then that's on you, aiding abetting, right? You know he's a fraud. You know he's not a flat earther now. He's told you. So, you know, that's the end of that. He has always been our enemy. And when he was pretending to be our friend, because he was pretending he was promoting flat Earth, no, he wasn't. He was bleeding every last bit of the interest the public had in the subject to promote whatever he could turn into cash, or promote in terms of his actual beliefs of very big ball or true Earth or whatever crap he's punting. It isn't flat Earth, though, is it? When asked, do you know it's flat, he couldn't say yes. And when push came to shove, no, there's two choices here. One of them's a ball. You got that option from Flat Earth Dave. You're like, no, you're not recognising the guy's a charlatan at this point. I can't help you. I'm here just to promote Flat Earth, though. I'm wearing it right on my sleeves. I'm not pretending to be a Flat Earther, saying I'm going to talk about Flat Earth, and then doing nothing but talk about the globe, or nothing but talk about ether, or talking about simulations, or whatever other people's nonsense is. We don't do that here. And the people who do follow us praise us for it. So, you know, people know what the score is now.
The sad thing is, what was the question that led up to him saying it could be a bigger ball? I think he said, so what you're saying is it could be flat or it could be a ball. And then Dave Weiss said correct, but it would have to be 1,000,000 times bigger. That's sad, because he told the guy that he was correct, that it could be a ball or flat. The uncertainty is off the charts.
In any event, we need to, and I've said this in the past as well, take ownership of the community in terms of what a real flat earther does. A real flat earther talks about flat Earth. It shouldn't really be in need of pointing out, but it is, and we are. And the people who have posed as flat earthers are now coming out and being exposed as not being flat earthers, that literally can't say yes when asked if you know Earth's flat.
Some flat earthers saying like what we're talking about and just being direct on it's measured flat. That's too complicated. It's not. They're sort of saying like the likes of Dave, Flat Earth Dave, and Whitsitt are needed in the community to draw more people in. This is what some flat earthers are talking about, and there's not really much of a discussion when we just go straight to how the Earth is measured flat. This is
Yeah,
what-
but his name is deceiving people. Yeah, Flat Earth Dave. He's not a flat earther. He's not proving the Earth is flat. Not because the proof is not out there, just because he's unaware, or he's being ignorant about the subject.
I don't
It's
know. I mean,
2024. He should know better. If he is a flat earther, he should know better.
I think
You
what
can
the
call yourself
people are
whatever you
saying.
like, but when asked if you know Earth's flat, you just say yes if you know Earth's flat. So, if nothing else, you conclude he does not know Earth is flat. So, from that point of view, at the bare minimum, to call yourself a flat earther, you must know Earth is flat. At the very least, that's why Jesse was asking him. So, we reach that very low standard very easily. We're flat earthers here, so that's to be expected. The people around us are pretending to be flat earthers because there's a public interest in the subject. They've got other stuff to talk about, obviously. But if you can call yourself, I'm going to call myself name of subject matter that lots of people are interested in, Dave, then you'll capture those people. You don't have to talk about it or even believe in it, as the case is.
Yeah, but he was afraid. He had a fear because he could not properly break it down how he knows Earth is flat. So he had to compromise himself.
I mean, what he should have been saying is, when he's asked the question, well, I'm not called Flat Earth Dave for nothing, mate.
Exactly.
By not saying it, he makes the antithesis true. He's called that Flat Earth Dave for nothing, just to capture the interest of the public. That's it. Just hijacking something people are searching for.
And I give credit to that guy. What's his name that interviewed him?
Jesse Lee Peterson.
Yeah, he stuck right to it and did not move.
He also made three conclusions. Go ahead.
Okay,
Johnny.
sorry. Okay, can I talk? Yeah, okay. No, you have to understand also, it might be also because they don't do their homework. They don't know, they don't understand the elevation angle, and they don't understand the circumclavicular altitude and what that really means. And because of that, they are in the old material and not doing or saying or understanding what it's really about. Just like
Yeah, that's what I
is
just
trying
said,
to
Johnny.
tell us all.
Yeah, but
He's afraid.
Yes, Johnny, absolutely. If they, to slightly paraphrase what you've said, if they understood the area of equal elevation, the elevation angle measurement, the circle of equal elevation, then they would know Earth was flat. And when asked, do you know Earth's flat? You go, yeah. And if they go, well, how? Well, because that's how we measure it with elevation angles. That's how our maps are developed. That's how we navigate the ground.
Okay, Nathan, but we are maybe it's a problem if we are calling this different names. I know it might be the same, circular equal altitude or circular equal elevation, but if you are a captain, you use the word or the term altitude, circular equal altitude. It doesn't mean anything. It just, but if you just say the same thing, then everybody will maybe understand it better.
Yeah, you're talking about an area that is measured with respect to the horizontal plane of reference that is Earth. You may indeed use the Earth itself in the form of the horizon to calibrate your tool to establish that horizontal plane of reference when measuring an elevation angle, with one of the lines being Earth.
Yeah, and they have to understand that is the circle around the GP, and the bigger the angle is, the more area of a circular equal altitude you will get. If the sun is more far away from you, then you will get a bigger circle. If you are aiming to the star, getting the elevation angle to the star, that is very right over your head, then the circle will get smaller. That is kind of a distance, but you don't know the distance exactly because that's more difficult. But you know the distance if you go in the almanac and in the tables, and it has been measured through the years, every position of every star above and the sun. And we understand also the Polaris is the middle point of it. And therefore, we have a circle of equal altitude that can be bigger the more far away you get from the Polaris circle. Or maybe better to say from the GP of the Polaris.
Yeah, you're measuring, that's what you're trying to derive when you measure the angle. You're measuring with respect to the point below the star, which is its GP. So you can calculate the circle of equal elevation with respect to that GP once you've measured the angle with respect to a flat plane of reference. So the end result is a big, massive circle that you draw out that is only capable of deriving any measurements and distances and points on the ground to find where the hell you are, if you deal with Earth as a horizontal plane of reference, flat. So you can draw out these circles of equal elevation after measuring angles to stars with respect to their ground position that you look up in the almanac. Well, you've got, depending on how low the star is to the horizon, a wider and wider and wider circle. If the star's very close to the horizon, it means you've got an absolutely vast area of equal elevation. As Captain Johnny's just pointed out, they prefer to call it circle of equal elevation. Oh no, altitude. Sorry, a circle of circle of equal altitude. Yeah. So I'll start using that if that's what they use on boats. I'd rather use the right terminology. So a circle of equal altitude. But that is exactly as the name suggests, equal altitude. Anyway, yes, exactly, Johnny.
If I can add to that,
George, then Neil.
No, go ahead, George.
Yeah, sorry. If you're using an elevation angle to the sun, your circle of equal altitude goes from the northern part of the whatever, to the southern part and back. Is a circle with the sun's GP right in the middle of that circle. Now, what I want to emphasize is that is proof of how extensive the equatorial plane must be. And that is for one circle of equal altitude, just to the sun. Because the sun is meant to be on the equator. So if that is the ground position of the sun, that circle of equal altitude must be vast and extensive.
Yeah, what you're saying is if you're viewing the sun beyond the equator and deriving areas of equal elevation with the sun, and you've already established your positional data with respect to Polaris, and you're right at the minimum, you're on the equator, then what you've got is a system that's already established with Polaris to your left, say, that's tens of thousands of miles of flat, and then you're using the sun to your right, just say for the sake of ease of explanation, that's again potentially tens of thousands of miles in that direction that's all flat, and you're in the middle of it drawing circles of equal elevation to plot your positional data if you're lost by drawing 3 circles with respect to what you've plotted out with angles measurement off a flat plane. So therefore what you end up with when you plot all this out on your flat map is massive areas of equal elevation, circles of equal altitude in all directions, flat in every direction for it to function, and it does. That's how it functions.
Yeah, I remember when 10th broke it down, I was blown away. I mean, I understood immediately, and I was like, oh my goodness, Earth is flat. I mean, there's no denying it now. You can't even come against it now. Now, my question is, did you not try to explain this to Jaron or David Weiss, and they just shut you down?
Not David Weiss. No, I had to try and overcome
that is the
Jaron's
problem.
objections.
They are not doing the homework.
Johnny's obviously been chatting to Jaron. You go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, but that's the problem. They are sort of too lazy. I'm trying to say they are too easy, and they are staying with old material, and they are not updating themselves. They are not doing their homework. And also, that I will say, if they
we've got train wreck.
You have a
Johnny,
position system.
Mike's complete train wreck with you dropping out and stuff. So we can hardly. I can't
Okay.
understand you at the best of times because your accent, no offence, but you're dropping out as well, so you're roboting, dropping out, and we can't understand you.
Yeah, he probably
it
didn't
better
even hear
now?
my question to you. That's why he started talking.
Possibly, he's probably got internet
I
connection
just
problems. That's why he's rumpusing us. It's not
I
intentional.
just have to say then, I hope you will grab it. It's about the circles will intersect into each other, and that's also part of the GPS system and the coordinate system. How all of the circles intersect to each other will give you the position of from every point you are measuring from.
Right.
I hope you understand that.
No, I understand. You're saying it's used for GPS in the same way on the Mercator projection, I'll add. Yes. No, I agree. Go ahead, Neil.
No, my question to you was, have you ever broke it down to them, for them, or you tried and they just shut you down?
Well, not for Dave, no, but for Jaren, yes. I tried to break it down, and he offered up his feigned attempt at Mattoon's rebuttal with tangent planes off Dingleberry dangling earth beneath. And I explained to him that you can't have ground positions on a line that's extended out to space. It wasn't acknowledged. Nevertheless, his rebuttal that he'd got from Mattoon was overcame, rather than acknowledging the flat plane, argued as a tangent point that won't have ground positions that is required. You know, that sinking in as a... So they're using a flat plane that they're calling a tangent. It's also labelled surface level in their maths. That they need for this angle. And it can't have ground positions if it's got a Dingleberry globe Earth beneath it. And it does have ground positions and is used and is measured. Was that recognised and acknowledged? No, but it was explained to Jaren. By me, personally, to him on a live show.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
There you go. You know, even people like Dave McKeegan will confirm it. So this is his comment to One Deck. Can't use elevation angles alone to measure height on a globe because you need a triangle with a flat baseline with a known length to the GP of the object in the sky. That's right, Dave. You can't get the height, you can't do it on a globe, and you do need a flat baseline along the length to the GP. So Dave gets it, you need a flat earth for this angle measurement called an elevation angle. He gets it. Jaren, on the other hand, wanted to argue some crappy point from Mattoon, rather than understand and acknowledge, as Dave McKeegan's managed to do, that Earth must be measured flat for these elevation angle measurements to GP points on the ground, with a flat baseline on the ground. So we can use flat maps with flat baselines for flat circles, representing the ground for ground positions that are the ground that's flat. We all clear? Earth's flat. That's how it's measured. Like I say, Dave McKeegan gets it. And he understands how it can't work on a globe. Because you can't get these angles off a globe. You have to have a flat earth for them.
Yeah, what's that citation you always use, Nathan? The one that has the observer standing on the reference frame?
Sustainable by design. Solar elevation angle is the line, imaginary, between yourself and a point in the sky, in this case the sun, and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. It's an elevation angle measurement. But that's according to Sustainable by Design. I've actually got 20 of them. It's just that's the first one on the list when I open that list. That's why you hear that one all the time. There's loads of them. Should really.
Yeah, I love that one because it has them standing on it. And there's also some that say Earth itself, correct?
Yeah, they're all saying the same thing because it's just describing what it is. It's an angle with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. So you need a horizontal plane of reference, and it's going to be dealing with ground positions that are on the ground. So it's not ambiguous, is it? It's extremely unambiguous because they're detailing it overtly. You're measuring an angle with respect to the ground. Of course you are. It's an elevation. Oh, what's elevation? What, height above the ground? So it's definitely the ground. As I'll say once more, the rebuttal that Jaren offered, because he's a flat earther and would be offering globe earth rebuttals for this stuff, obviously, being a flat earther and all, told me about how tangents work with Dingleberry earths. I mean, we're very familiar to the point where we're nicknaming the dangling earth below a tangent plane as a Dingleberry, because we've discussed it so much and have nicknames for these things. Jaren regurgitated what he got from Toon on one live show discussion, and accepted it carte blanche and then challenge me with it.
Yeah, but the problem is that Jaren agrees with Mick Toons that that's how it's done, celestial navigation on a sphere.
Of course, because that's what flat
And that's a
earthers do.
problem.
They generally agree with the globe earth, anti-flat earth rhetoric of how things work on a sphere when you're a flat earther. That's normal. Or they have been our enemy the whole time. And when they pretended to be our friends, they were making friends with us so they could stab us in the back and betray us because they were never flat earthers to begin with. That's why Jaren's arguing for our tangent plane works with a dingleberry globe beneath it. Why would he be putting that to me if he's a flat earther? Answer, he wouldn't. Why would Dave be telling you it could be a massive ball? Well, because he isn't a flat earther. Jaren's not a flat earther. They wouldn't be challenging flat earth proofs if they were. They wouldn't be offering globe earth arguments non-stop if they were. They're promoting globe earth arguments the whole time.
Yeah, there's an English word for it. I think it's called scammer.
Yeah, there's an interest in this subject. People want to hear about it. The majority of them want to hear how globe earth works. So that's what they go through non-stop. So what do we do? Well, we're the antidote. We cover what a flat earth does. And our globe earth will be using what a flat earth does. That's what we do. So we just have to shine above and outshine the competition that have hijacked the interest in the subject by pretending to be us. They're pretending to be what we do. We are flat earthers. They are pretending to be flat earthers. What a shock. We said it all along. Don't fall for the next guru. But now you've got a name, haven't you? You're all true earthers. You thought you were flat earthers. That is to say, you adhered to the demonstrable flat nature of the reality we dwell atop. You thought that. You weren't. You're true earthers now, so just relabel yourselves. And if you start calling yourselves flat earthers when you're not, we'll be much more overt about that fact. Yeah, don't call yourself a flat earther just because your guru lies about being one. Yeah? What's this ether? Isn't that true earth garbage? You're not flat earthers. Stop pretending to be flat earthers. We're flat earthers, and we take great offence when charlatans steal our good name of being flat earthers to pretend to be them so they can punt their wares to unsuspecting people with an interest in flat earth. Send them to us, because we're the real deal. Don't deal with the charlatans who are selling you some garbage and can't even tell you, yes, I know Earth's flat when asked. Just don't deal with them anymore. Now you know what's going on. And if they are getting interviewed, people like Flat Earth Dave in quotes, next time he gets interviewed by somebody, I'll be just as abrasive with the host. Why are you dealing with these charlatans that aren't really flat earthers and have admitted so? Why are you interviewing him? Do you not want to deal with the real flat earth? You'd rather deal with the charlatans that don't talk about it, that can't even admit that it is flat. You'd rather deal with them, would you? Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you deal with the pretend flat earthers over there, Mr. Mainstream. We'll be here when you're ready to deal with the real flat earth. That's what this boils down to. People aren't ready to deal with the real flat earth.
Yeah, but that's by design,
they need pretend
Nathan.
flat earth. That's what they need. Dave represents a pretend version of a flat earth that people aren't ready for. And duping them into thinking that they're studying that subject because they've typed it into a search engine and found Dave McKeegan and want a real version of it. Then they find Dave, another fake version of what we deal with, flat earth. That's what we actually deal with. People aren't ready, so they get him. Now they know he's a charlatan. Hopefully they'll find their way to us so they can get some actual flat earth information and get on with their day.
No, Nathan, I don't think so. This is by design. I'm sorry. They're picking who they want to speak to. They are not going to choose us because they know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and they'll get called for it. This guy has admitted he can't even admit that Earth is flat. Can't even say the words. Why are you interviewing him? You want a flat earther? Earth is flat. There you go. I'm a flat earther, not a charlatan pretending to be one. So you want to interview Dave? Well, that makes you complicit.
And then we ask us, why do we really have to go to Antarctica and talk about the 24-hour sun if we know the Earth is massive flat? Okay, we can do that just to, like a confetti, you know what I mean? Yeah, okay, let's do it. But people are very scared. it can be some kind of hoax, fake, or whatsoever can happen. But we know better. We know better. Nothing changed. The Earth is measured flat, but everybody is talking about 24-hour sun in Antarctica. What do you say about that?
About Antarctica, we covered this in the pre-show. It's an affirming the consequent fallacy. If Earth is a sphere, then we'll have 24 hours of sunlight. That is to say, the sun will be above the horizon for a 24-hour period in Antarctica. We may, that's where it stands, observe a 24-hour sun above the horizon in Antarctica. Therefore, we may confirm Earth's a sphere. No, you'll affirm the consequent. That's what you'll do. You'll also assume antipodal positioning. That is to say, if I assume that when I travel south, I am automatically antipodal from where I began, then if I observe 24-hour sun above the horizon, we have the automatic assumption begging the question fallacy of antipodal positioning and sphere Earth? No. That's an antipodal positioning begging the question fallacy. You're supposed to be proving Earth's sphere, not assuming that you're travelling antipodal from your position. That's a begging the question fallacy.
I agree, and also there is no proof, and there is nothing that is showing anything like that. We can see the sun is going a circle away from the shoreline of Antarctica, but it doesn't matter because we have shown the Earth is measured flat. What's happening up over your head and what's happening with the sun is not relevant to that measurement, because measurement is the Earth is measured flat and everything is like that. And if light is something is happening with the light, is not really has nothing to do with it.
Technically,
But
isn't it proven flat Earth? Right? Because you got to take measurements to that sun that's staying in that position, right? I think it's more of a flat Earth proof.
I covered this. If you imply measurements, then
Exactly.
yes. Then you can immediately point out that the measurements of the angle with respect to the horizon requires a flat Earth to describe. But you don't necessarily need to infer any measurements if you simply go down and observe a claimed to be phenomena in Antarctica where the sun is above the horizon for a 24-hour period, moving in a 360-degree motion around your body throughout the day. Well, if that is the case, then that is legitimately an observed phenomena that you could study. But it doesn't mean that when you got to Antarctica, you were upside down, that's to say, antipodal from where you began. Now, if the people travelling down there assume that Antarctica is antipodal from where you began, then you're automatically begging the question that whatever you observe affirms the consequent that Earth is a sphere because you observe a phenomena. Now, the affirming the consequent is the non sequitur part of the P not following Q. Yeah? So if P, Earth a sphere, then insert natural phenomena here. Natural phenomena inserted here, therefore Earth's a sphere. No. Your non sequitur affirming the consequent fallacy isn't a proof of Earth's sphericity. And it does demonstrate that you're begging the question by antipodal assumption. Now that is the summary of the flaw in the logic of assuming that observing a 24-hour sun, which we may or may not do, I've had first-hand testimony that say it's not the case from somebody who spent 18 months down there, but let's say he was wrong and just didn't notice, then even if we do observe a 24-hour sun, which we do in the north 24-hour sun isn't in any way proof that we've got a globe Earth beneath our feet. Why would the south? Oh, well, if we assume that we're antipodal when we get there. Well, you've already begged the question before you observe a damn thing, so who cares? This is absolutely riddled.
Well, I appreciate it, Nathan, if you would stop begging a question. Hold on. Nathan's begging a question today, and I'm a little tired of it by saying when they go down there.
Yeah, I'm using it within their example of antipodal assumptions. Of course I'm going to say down there. I can phrase it in reality. As we travel out towards the horizon following a compass that only works with respect to a flat plane, we travel outwards towards the horizon. As we do so, the stars and everything they do remains above our head the entire time. And then when we arrive in the south, having travelled south with respect to a plane, by way of the direction and systems of navigation that we utilise in order to do so, we arrive there and look up above the stars and see what they're going to do. Or look at the sun and see what it's going to do. Okay? Where did we get anything to do with the globe out of that? We didn't! So how do we insert it? We say the word down and we assume antipodal positioning when we do our journey out towards the horizon with respect to north that only works on a flat plane.
Yeah, but either
I
head
got it.
down
You
on
were
the
doing it
sphere. That's the
deliberately.
problem.
Of course! Everything I do is measured, Neil. Whoever that was from Discord, go ahead.
The problem is you don't have down on the sphere. Up and down is in respect to a surface plane, level plane.
Yeah. Even their antipodal assumption in the first place is derived from a celestial hemispherical system with Polaris that has been expanded out as we've discovered the new worlds and described as a South Pole-centric system with a star that doesn't exist, that isn't visible. So you've got two hemispherical systems on a flat plane. Now, if you then describe one sandwiched antipodal from the other, that is south and north, you then have the celestial sphere with two flat planes, one antipodal from the other. That's the actual system that is used. Both are using angles to their respective hemisphere of view from a Polaris-centric position and a south-centric position, if you want to describe it that way. Well, that's the celestial sphere. Both are using flat planes!
Yes, indeed. And again, if you're using the sun to navigate throughout the day, you're going to use elevation angles to the sun. Even when you reach the shoreline of Antarctic and observing the sun above the horizon, you're still going to use the sun's GP to plot your position throughout the day. They'll be proving a flat plane.
Oh dear.
Indeedy. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to Jado for sharing those memberships, and all the rest of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 member, being gifted a membership, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video. There has actually been a few people who have contributed to the Divergent Droid Give Send Go campaign, so another few quick shout outs before we do actually fully round out this live show. I know I've just run the outro. Nevertheless, a big shout out to Anonymous Giver for hitting the Give Send Go campaign. Flat Out Truth, thank you very much indeed for the contribution. Uncool Ben, and I don't know if we mentioned Mike 808 already, but thank you very much to all of you for hitting the campaign. There will be a link going by in the live stream chat right now.